Oh, I think we can start it. Vibor, I give you permissions for host. And have a great online meeting.
Thank
See
you.
you. Bye-bye.
See you. Bye-bye. Thanks, Mikita. All right. Can everybody see the screen? You can. All right. Привіт всім. Сьогодні з нами наш UX та UI дизайнер Матія Градишки. Він навчить нас користуватися Figma та покаже, як розробити простий веб-сайт. Матія, будь ласка, представтеся. Матія, the floor is yours. You can introduce yourself. You can do it in English. I think you're muted.
Yeah. So yeah, fortunately, I don't speak Ukrainian, but yes, I'm Matija. I'm a UX and UI designer in Point Jupiter, and I've been working here for over 3 years now. I come from Zagreb in Croatia. In free time, I listen to a lot of music. I go to concerts, watch movies, and yeah. And that's a little bit about me. Today I'm going to walk you through the Figma program, which I spent most of my days in. It's a quite useful and great tool, and yeah, I think you're going to find it interesting.
Okay, Matija, thanks for the intro. So as I mentioned a couple of days earlier, today it's going to be a bit more concrete in ways and practical. So our plan for today is to go through Figma. Matija will be your tutor for today, basically for most part of it. Sorry, he will show you a Figma overview, explain you what tools you can use in Figma. You'll learn how to work with frames, how to work with auto layout. We will discuss components, styles, and plugins. Then, as usual, we will have a 15-minute break. And after that, we will continue our work with Figma. You will then work with Matija together to create a simple website, and he will also show you prototyping. You will remember that previously we discussed prototyping as one of the UX techniques, which are very useful to gathering feedback, and that you can easily and quickly and very cheaply prototype and test some ideas before actually creating a full-blown product. So today you will see how that works in practice. One thing that's important, I sent you an email, a message yesterday with the video, and by now I hope that you have created a Figma account. If not, that's not a big deal, you can still do it. If you want. Hey, so the question from Anna, do we have to work during the conference or afterwards ourselves? That's a great question. That's exactly what I was just about to answer. So you can follow along if you want. So you can follow along what Matija is doing, or you can just watch him, because as Mikita told you, we are recording this session, so you will be able to look through the session as well. One important thing, however, if you have any questions during this presentation, just write it in chat or ask. Either Matija or myself will do our best to answer to you. So if you're following along and you stumble upon some issue or something doesn't work, just let us know. Yeah, дякую тобі, Anna. Other thing is that we would like you that by the next Thursday, you try and create a simple website for yourselves using Figma. Then on Thursday, you can submit and send your links to us, and Matija and I will review them, and we will share some feedback for you, some ideas of how you can improve them, or tell you what you did really good and what might need some improvements. So you will have, so to speak, like a homework. By Thursday, you can create a website. Use the experience and use what Matija is going to show to you today. Remember what we discussed in previous days. We will share all the presentation and everything with you. At the end of this presentation, you will also see Matija's email. So you can send an email to Matija at any point, ask him anything if something was not clear or you need some additional information. So before we start, do you have any additional questions or everything is clear? No, everything seems clear. All right. In that case, Matija, the floor is yours. I will see how can I give you the hosting rights so you can share the screen. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
Not exactly sure how to do that, but can you host now?
No.
No? Give me 1 second. Make host. Now I think you should be able. Try now?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. So, as Weber mentioned, I hope you all successfully create an account in Figma. It's quite easy. You can, I think everyone has a Google account, so you can just sign in with Google account. And yeah, once you do that, you arrive at this screen. Now, currently my screen is a bit different probably than yours because I do have some projects here because we are on the company account. But what we do have the same is this. So here it says Matija Gradiški's team and first project. So you should have that. And also at the top, you have recents. So the recents files that you entered and drafts. So drafts is a collection of files that are not assigned to any of the projects. And if I'm not mistaken, I think you can have as many drafts as you want in a free account, but I'm not completely sure because they change pricings and things a little bit lately. But yeah, from here, so we have this our first project. Here we currently don't have any files, but when we create files, they will appear here. To create a file, we just click this design file here. These other things are not important now. This FigJam is a side product of Figma, and FigJam is not for designing, is for collaboration in between teams, for brainstorming, collecting ideas. It's like a giant board where users can share ideas and stuff like that. You can also import files from a different program that is used also for designing website and applications. And yeah, you can share the project with other people. And that's it. So yeah, we can go ahead and create a new design file. It's named untitled, but we can change that to my project. And now we're in Figma, and it's quite empty at the moment, but soon we will fill it up. So let's start on the left-hand side. So first of all, you have this sidebar here, and I recommend you click on this page. This page is this section pages are basically all the pages that you have in the project. So you can have up to 3 pages in the free account. And this is for organization of the file. So what we have, how we work in Point Jupyter, we would have a page for maybe styles, components, and design. And organization, it's up to you basically, and up to the organization you will be working with. But yeah, the pages are just they are for organization of the whole file. When you create something, so for instance a frame, those layers, similar, I don't know if you worked a little bit in Photoshop or Illustrator or programs like that, they all have those layers, and the same things go here. So we have this frame and layer, and those layers are shown here. So other than layers and pages, we also have these assets. Assets are all the styles and components that I'm going to talk about a bit later, but all of those things will appear here. And from here, when you want some component that you created, you can just drag and drop it in into the canvas, but we'll get to that. Here at the top, you have some basic tools and properties. File edit for copying, pasting, selecting, changing the view. You can also change the theme to the dark mode, but I'm one of those weird people that likes to use light mode. So yeah, all of the settings are here. One useful thing is when you start to work with Figma and you start using shortcuts, you can find all of those shortcuts in help and account and keyboard shortcuts, and all of the shortcuts will appear here at the bottom. And shortcuts can be quite useful, but they're not as important right now. So let's get on with the tools. So this is the main tool, basically, the move tool. This is used for basically selecting objects and move them around the canvas. But you also have the scale tool, which I don't want to confuse you with right now. It's not used that often, to be honest. I rarely use it, but I will show you on the example what this exactly does. This here, we have frame, section, and slice. Frame is one of the main things in Figma, which you will be using the most. It's basically the frame where you can place different objects in. For instance, if we are creating an app for iPhone or a website, if you select frame here at the top, you already have some templates at the right-hand side, some sizes of the frames for different devices. So you can select phone, for instance, iPhone, and this is exactly the pixel size of that phone. You can also, here we have different sizes for tablet, for desktops. You can even use this as a presentation. So instead of working in Microsoft PowerPoint, you can create presentations here. And there's also kind of presets, basically. And like I said, when you have one frame, you can create another, and you can insert it in this frame, and it will be under that frame. And this is basically this parent frame is the frame of the whole device that you are working in. And usually we call them screens. So you have a screen with some menu items, you have a profile screen, you have a settings screen like you have in mobile apps. So those are usually referred as screens. Sections are similar to frame, and those are used to group different screens or frames. So for instance, if we have 3 frames that are grouped together, that are in the same context, you can use this section and just go over them. Let me change the color of it so you can see better. And you can name that section, like main screens, for instance. And you can move this whole section around on canvas instead of selecting all 3 frames and then move them around the canvas. So that's section. Slice. So slice, actually, I don't think that I ever used this tool, but what it does, it basically lets you select a portion of the screen and you can export that screen to PNG or some other format. I will come to export later, by the way. But yeah, I don't think, I know I for sure didn't use this tool, but I'm fairly certain that my colleagues as well didn't use this tool, and I'm not sure what would be the case for this tool. But
I'm
yeah,
using it for maps. I can give you a context where it can be useful. For example, it's probably not the best way to use it though. So for example, if I create a map that I want to share somewhere, I can have a slice that, for example, takes just a proportion of that map that's going to be shown on Instagram, or other slice that's going to be exported for Facebook. So I can just export from one frame. I have 2 slices, one that shows elements that I need for Instagram, maybe for example the logo below, and in other case, instead of having 2 artboards, I have one that's for the Facebook. But since most of the tools in Figma are vectors, you can easily just click them, select those that you need. So this is like a border case, not exactly the typical use case.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. Okay. Other than frames, we have these basic shapes. So shapes are the vector shapes that you can work with them, change the border radiuses, give them a lot of properties. They behave similar to frames, but they're just shapes, like vector shapes that you can change. You can even, if you double click, you can change stuff. It's a drawing tool, basically.
Can you show us how you entered this this tool where you were able to change the different elements of the vector, and just maybe quickly tell us what vectors really are?
So vectors are, how to explain it? Vectors are
like what would be the benefit of a vector, because it can be scaled, I guess.
The vector, when scaled, it does not lose the resolution, the quality of the image. So for instance, if we have some icon, I will just quickly paste some icon here. Oh, sorry. So if, for instance, we have this icon here, and you can see that no matter how much we zoom in, the edges are sharp. However, if we copy a PNG, so image format, you see how it's pixelated. And vectors are more important even in the graphic design, when you have to print things out, because printers that uses vector are, the print is much better than the image, because image can have a lot less quality and it wouldn't look good. So for instance, if you will ever be doing logos for, I don't know, some organizations or stuff like that, or for yourself, like logo with your name, you will always use those logos as a vector shape, not as a image. So those are vectors. And with vectors, so those are kind of like lines that you can move around and draw things. You can even add new points. You can use this bend tool and create like a curvature. And how to enter this mode? So what you can do is with this shape here, you can just double click that shape and you will enter this edit mode of that shape. And then you can select points and move around. You can even add some new points. You can bend sides. Yeah. So yeah, that's it. You can also paint different, you can remove the background of different areas. So you can see that I have now like lines, no fill. And with this tool here, I can add fill, which I can then change that on the right. So yeah, I don't know, can I see the chat summary? Did any of you have some experience with like Adobe Illustrator or like this drawing applications or programs, tools?
Arseny says not, but I remember during the introduction, I'm not sure, was it Anna or someone who said that they already been familiar with Photoshop?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I got the name wrong, but I think there was one or maybe two people who said that they're like know about the Photoshop.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, since we are now doing this Figma, maybe you can tell us why the Figma is now pretty much becoming a standard after you show us tools or however you imagined it.
Yeah, okay. So previously, people who were designing websites and application were designing that in Photoshop because that was the only tool that could do that. However, Photoshop has a lot of different options for editing images and giving different effects, and there's just a lot of things there which most of them designers didn't even use. And that's why these new programs like Figma, or the other one is Sketch, or Adobe has its own called XD, which soon will be probably dead because they bought Figma. And those programs are now they are getting a bit complicated, but at first it was just the main thing. So the frames, shapes, the main thing that designers need to create a website. But as the years went, they're introducing more and more features that connects design and development. So I will show you that later, but a lot of the things that designers work in Figma work similarly in development. So I think Weber mentioned something. I think Weber mentioned that some of you are developing some things. So you will see what are the similarities basically. But let me just move on because it's already 1:30. So yeah, those are the shapes. You can create whatever shapes you want. Those are mainly used for like decorations and similar thing. So if you want a star on your website somewhere in the background, you can create it here and export that here. You can export it as SVG. SVG is the vector format that we mentioned, but you can also export it as image, PNG, JPEG, or even as PDF. Pen and pencil, you maybe saw that earlier, but those are tools that create different shapes. He already mentioned that. Text, so I can write things. This here is kind of like a drawer of different things. These components those are components that you can, how to explain. So the components you can see here, those are actually my components from different projects that are shared, and I can access them from here. But when you create your own components, they will appear here. Plugins are a really cool thing in Figma, and the community in Figma basically creates them. And it's just those plugins add additional features basically to Figma. One of those plugins that I use often is these feather icons. Feather icons are a library of different icons, and if I click run, it will show me a little window here, and I just have a library of icons which I can click and then paste in my Figma.
Mattia, what if I've never used feather icons before? So what I see here, they're appeared under the recents, but for example, if I've never used them, how do I add a new plugin? So
if you know the names of the plugin, you will of course search icons and something will appear. But those plugins can also be found in the community part of the Figma, which I will mention later.
Okay.
Yeah. But if you need something like something with images, some plugins will appear. So export, I mean, yeah, I mean, those are quite advanced now, and they're not, you don't have to know them at the moment. Widgets are basically something that Figma has integrated in to improve collaboration between designers, because multiple people can be in the same file. That's one of the things that Figma kind of got famous for, because before there weren't many programs that could be where multiple people can be in the same file. And here it's just widgets, so I don't know, some tags, yeah, to paste around the canvas. But yeah, I also don't use that very often, to be honest. This is just a move tool, hand tool, and the comment. So when you make your designs, you will share them with other people, and those other people can leave comments. So for instance, if we have, I don't know, some frame with some design here, a person can directly write a comment here. And they will always be available here, and you can select them, reply to them, or resolve them. So that's this part of the screen. Now this part of the screen. So currently, if I don't have anything selected, you will see this page. This is basically the background of the canvas. Local variables I will not get into at the moment, because this is a new feature that was introduced like 2 weeks ago, and it's still in beta. So, and yeah, it's not, you don't have to worry about that at the moment.
They're still testing it, right? Themselves.
Yeah.
It's not, yeah.
Local styles, I will talk about styles in a moment. And export, you already saw with different things. But for export, you have to select something that you want to export. Prototype, we will talk about that after we create our own design. So yeah, that's basically this. But if I have a frame, you will see here that there is a lot more different options. So at the top, you have these alignments. So if I have multiple frames, I can select them and align them at the top or to the left, to the right, middle. Yeah, this is basically the alignment tool. I can also, you can see here more options. I can distribute them vertically. All right. This doesn't work. Why doesn't work? Oh yeah, now I can. This is weird.
This is a little bit weird, yeah. They should be jumping up and down based on what you selected.
It should be like this.
Yeah. Can you tell us what trick did you do so you could quickly copy those frames? I saw that you didn't draw one by one.
Good point.
How you did that?
Yeah, good point. So what you can do with the frame, you can click. So I'm on a Mac, it's Command C, but on Windows is Control C and Control V. It will paste. But what you can also do is select a frame and hold Alt. I think it's on Windows. On Mac, it's Options. And this double pointer will appear. And you can just drag a new frame. Also, when you drag this frame here, you can press Control D or on Mac Command D, and it will paste the new frame exactly the same distance as the first one is.
So the Command D would be just like duplicate. That's what the D stands for.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Okay. So here, yeah, we have this alignment. We have the options to change the width of the frame. We can change the rotation. We can change the border radius, so the corners are rounded. You can also click here at the right and change only one corner that you want, not all of them. This clip content, what it does, so when you have a frame, let me just quickly change color to it, and you have some elements inside it. Those elements, if this, let me see, this clip content, so if it's not checked, those elements go beyond the frame. And when you drag the frame, those elements are with it. But most of the times you will see, you will want to clip this content, and then they are kind of like go behind the frame. They are cut, basically. So there's this auto layout. That is one of the main features that Figma introduced, and it's it works similar to as it works in the code, the Flexbox, which we will mention. You will also talk about, but I will get to that. I want to first go through all these options here. Layout grid. So layout grids are grids that we can use as a guidance when you design. So it can be this basic like square grid, but you can also change that here. So from here you can go here and change this to columns. And this is what most of you will use because you will be creating a website. And here you can change to different number of columns. This width is currently auto and type is scratch. So when I change the width of the frame, the columns also change the width, but it can also be in the center, and you can choose your own width. So let's say 75, gutter 16. And yeah, and they always stay in the middle and they don't change the size. And those are kind of like guides that so the website is consistent, which you can follow to create different elements on your website. So you follow this grid basically.
Maybe just a quick explanation why we typically use 12 columns, because 12 is a really good number. If you want to say, for example, it's divisible by a lot of different numbers. So if you want to have a website with 2 sections, then you can use 6 columns and 6 columns. If you want to use it with 3 sections, then you will have 4 columns and 4 columns, right? If you want to have 3, so it can be divisible by 6, by 3, by 4, by 2. That allows you to have proportional elements all over the place. If you were to use, for example, 13, which is not really easily divisible with other numbers, then you might have some problems if you want to have exactly the same proportions. So that's why typically I think we use 12, right?
Yeah, and also if you use Bootstrap, there is also 12. But yeah, you can. But it's not a rule. It's just.
It's not a rule. Yeah, it's a practice. Yeah. Something that we do. Yeah.
Okay. Other than grids, you have some options for layers, but yeah, it's not important right now. It's basically if the one element is overlapping the other, the top element, you can select the effect that how the element is seen. You can change the opacity of the element. So for instance, if I have this shape here, let me just remove this layout here. You can change the opacity here. If you select this box here and you move your mouse next on the edge of the box, then click and drag, you can change numbers like this. So that's that. The fill option is something that you will often use. So this is, you already saw me doing something with this, changing the colors or backgrounds of the elements. You can also create a gradient here. You can also place, so this uses an image, and you can choose the image from your computer to paste it here. And you can give some effects here. Stroke is basically the border of the frame, this black border. You can change here to go into center of the frame. So you can see this blue line is the edge of the frame. And if I select outside, you will see that the border is outside of the frame. Here you can change if you want like only one side to have borders, top, bottom, whatever. Effects. Effects can be drop shadow. So if one of your cards in a website, for instance, needs to have a shadow, you can add them with effects. You can also add layer blur. You can add background blur. So what background blur does is if you have, let me quickly show you. If you have a frame and you have this element with background blur, and you have other elements behind it. So you can see here that I have these elements, gray elements here, and this frame, red frame here. I can select those elements selecting one and holding Shift, and select the bottom one, and it will automatically select all of them. And if I drag them below this frame here, oh no, I need here, it's easier to select this frame and move it up. I don't know if the blur is visible.
Not that much, really. Maybe if it would be an image, maybe it would be better seen as an image. But maybe just a quick.
Yeah, but it's not. You will not use that now.
It's not very common.
Advanced, so I think it's better to move on. because we have a limited time. But those are different effects here. You can also have inner shadow, so shadow inside the frame. And this export, what it does, you already saw. You can select the frame and export them in different formats. For instance, I pasted an icon here. Oh, sorry. So you have this icon, and you can, if you need to use that in your development, you click export, select SVG, and then just click export, and it will automatically download as SVG. This suffix, so if you set it as image, this is the, if you want to have the image resized to a larger format or the smaller, you can add this. The suffix is like the some description after the main name of the. So this layer is X, and if I select like to export it double the size, I can just add this, for instance, add 2x, and then when I export it, it will export. I don't know if you can see this, but it will export as x at 2x .png. So this is this suffix basically. What time is it? Oh, okay. So let me just see.
Don't worry about time. You're going okay. Don't worry.
So let's talk about working with frames. Like I mentioned, the frames are the main thing that you will be using to design your website, and you will place different frames inside of different frames, and there is some behaviors with that. So if I have this frame and let's change the color to some darker one so you can see it better. And I have this frame here. Let's say that this is some card that I want to use in my design. If I place that inside of this frame, inside of frame 2, you will see that this constraints section appears. What this is, it's also quite important, is this is defining how this child element will behave inside of a bigger element. So for instance, so we have a horizontal and vertical alignment, and currently is the left and top is selected, which means that when I change the size of the parent frame, this element will always stay at top left. If I so what is just a second. So the left. So if I move this left side, the element will always be on the left. On the vertical is top. So if I move the top border, it will stay at the top. If I change this to right and now move the left, you will see that the rectangle doesn't move. However, if I move the right side, it moves with the right side. And again, it's still selected top, which means it will follow the top border. And you can also change to be at the bottom, so it changes with the bottom border of the main frame. And you can see also here these blue lines, which indicates how this element is behaving within the frame. What you can also do is have it in the center, which means that whatever side you move, it will move with that side. However, you see that we still have the vertical alignment at the bottom, so it will move at the bottom. But if I select the center one, it will move both of the sides of the main frame. You can also select scale, which means, so this horizontal line is now scale, which means when I move the parent frame horizontally, it will resize. You can see how the element resizes. I can also do that with a vertical line. So when I move, when I move the frame, it changes the size. And yeah, that's constraints.
Would constraints be useful, for example, if I want to create a website and then work on a responsive design and see if let's say that this red rectangle is like my header. Would I use constraints to see how that header will expand, just like my entire screen is expanding, or this is something else?
No, you will use auto layout for that.
Auto layout, okay. Good.
But yeah, this will be useful in if you don't have, I will come to that, but basically when you're designing a website, you might not have everything in auto layout, but yeah, I don't want to confuse everybody right now, but I will give a specific example where these constraints play a part.
Okay, that's good. Thanks.
So yeah, those are constraints. And now to auto layout. So like I mentioned, auto layout is something that Figma introduced, and it's a tool and way of working basically, which most of the designers use, and it gives us a lot of options, and it makes the job of designing with existing components easier. So what is auto layout? So if I select some frames here, if I input them and paste several of them, and let's change the colors of them. So this is going to be red, this is going to be green, yellow, and blue. So before auto layout, what you would do if those are some of your elements for the website, and you wanted to place them on the screen, what you would have to do is make sure that they are the same distance. By the way, if you select a one frame and click on Alt, I think it's on Windows, but on Mac is Options, you can see how many pixels it is a distance from the other elements, from the edges of other elements. So what you would do without the auto layout, you would have to, okay, this is 64, this is 64, this is 64. But yeah, it was really a tricky thing to do. Now with auto layout, what it enables us, if we select all the frames and click on Shift and A, or just click this plus icon here next to auto layout, it automatically combines them in one frame where we can change the distance between them and how they appear, so the direction, so we can have them vertically distributed, or even wrap, which I will come back to. And this auto layout, so you can see if I select this frame here has like a hashtag sign in the layers panel, but auto layout has these three lines. And this auto layout is actually a kind of a frame. So let me just give it a background. So this black, this is the frame in which these color elements are in. So what can we do with auto layout except the basically direction of the elements? So you can change the spacing between elements. You can change the padding on left and right and top and bottom. So if I write here 40, it will give the padding on left and right of the frame. Let's say 40 on top and bottom. And now we have this padding around these elements. You can also change that if you hover over the frames. You can see these lines here, and if you click on it, you can change just for that side the padding. You can also drag and change the spacing in between the elements, and yeah, you can drag and change the padding itself. And you will see when I change, for instance, this right padding, that in the panel it says 40, 116. So the size are differentiated with comma. But if I write just 40, it will automatically combine everything together. And you can also click here and change the padding for each side like that. So, but let's say 40. This here is the orientation of the elements. So if I select, so alignment basically of the elements. If I change the sizes of the elements like this, it currently, so now it's aligned in the middle. And when I change the frame, all of those elements are staying in the middle. If I put them onto the left, if I change the size, they stay to the left. If I put them to the right, they go to right. If I put them on top right, what that does, it aligns all of the elements at the top right. So you can see that when they were in the middle, they were like this, and on top right, they're like this. The same goes with top left or bottom left, bottom middle. This is how the elements are distributed inside this frame. You also have one of the options that are connected with auto layout are these two here, which currently says fixed and hug, and those are horizontal resizing and vertical resizing. What that does, if I click here hug contents, that means that the frame will hug the contents inside it according to their side. So like this. The same goes for width, for height. If I change the width of the frame, it will automatically change to fixed width. And I can go back and make hug contents. I can also apply some things to these frames inside. So they can have a fixed width, but I can also tell them to fill the container. What that does, no matter how what is the width of the main frame, this red element will fill the space that is left in that element. So if I click fill element, and you will see now that this is how we had everything, and those three elements have fixed width, so they will not change. But if I change the parent frame, the red frame will fill the space that is left when I resize the parent frame. I can also, let's say if I click on blue one and say fill frame, they will all have different sizes. Yeah, the same things applies to vertical height. So if I tell this green one to fill container, if I change the width, the green will fill the height of the container. I can also say, okay, fill container. It will fill, so it also matters how much padding you left on the container, basically. So what if we want to, if we see this here website, and you can see that at some point, if I resize the screen, it changes to cards one below the other. So here we have two cards in a row, and let me just move this here. And if I change it a bit more, it goes to one card below the other card. So we can do that with auto layout, with this wrap feature option in the auto layout. So if I click wrap, and this is also the alignment like we had before, and if we go here to the left, they go, what it's important is to sorry, I forgot something. Let me just give all of them the same size. It will be better. And we will say hug contents. Now, if I change it, they will move. So if there is no more space for this the blue one in the frame, it will go to a row below. The same goes for the yellow, and then we can go like here.
So that enables us to create those responsive web designs.
Yeah.
That's the main functionality. Okay, so as you will remember, during our first day, we discussed that sometimes you have that you want to create a website that works well on a large screen, on your tablet, but also on your phone. So when you are designing it, it's important to use auto layouts so that you can easily see how your website would look like. Then also developers can use that, and they can easily create mobile solutions, tablet solutions, or whatever. It doesn't really matter if you're doing this for a website or a mobile app, because in the mobile apps, you also might have different screen sizes and so on. So that's why the understanding the concept of the auto layout is very important, especially within the context of responsive web design.
Yeah. So I suggest that we go to a 15-minute break now. But just to conclude this auto layout, what is important, what you have to look at when working with these layouts is the options here, and this two at the top. So this hug content and fill container, those are the two things that you will have to remember, because like I will show you on proper example, those things makes those components responsive when you change the size of them. So yeah,
okay. We can now make a break for, let's say we are back at 2:15. Is that fine with everyone? It's like in 12 minutes from now, 2:15. and then we continue with styles and everything else.
Yep.
All right. If you have any questions, of course, just type them in chat, or you can ask Mattia or myself right away. We'll be happy to answer them. If not, then we'll meet back at 2:15. Thanks, Mattia, and thanks everyone for following. Right. I think we are here. Mattia, you can hear us?
Yeah.
Yep. All right. I suggest then you then continue with your presentation.
I hope everyone is here. I don't know if we need to wait for someone. Let me show this. Okay, so we covered auto layout, and we will get. I will show that again on a proper examples. But now I want to talk about styles and components that we regularly use in Figma and in our daily process. So here in our styles page, I just pasted some of typography sizes and some colors. So when you're creating your website, first you want to see, okay, what would be the branding or my website, or what colors would I like to use, and all of those colors I suggest that you define in one page like these styles, because if you send that to a developer, he can click on styles and input all of those values in code from one place. He doesn't have to go throughout the web and click and add colors as they go to different elements. But here for now, so what I did is I used this ellipse shape tool, draw it like this, and then change the color here. And then I add just the text below so I know how to name them. This heading is just different sizes of typography. You can also change the font here. You can change the weight. Is it a light, regular, medium? The size, so you can pixels. And yeah, this is just how the text is aligned in the text box. So if I resize the text box, now it's in the middle, now it's at the right. And yeah, this is how it behaves. So right now it's an auto width, so the text box changed the width as depending on the content inside it. I can also take this and I can resize it manually, and it will automatically change to this auto height. What auto height means is when I'm writing a text, it will automatically go in a new row, and the height will adjust accordingly. And this is just a fixed size of a box. And if I write something, it will go beyond the text box. And I also can change, so it's in the middle of the text box, or from the bottom up, or from the top down. And there is a lot of different options for text, but yeah, we don't have to go through that now. What I wanted to show, and yeah, I also have some icons here if in case we need it. What I wanted to explain to you now is how to create styles. And first of all, what are styles? So if I select this circle here, you can see that we have this property here, fill, which has its color and the value of the colors. So here I can change to hex number. And this is the hex code for that color. So if I select this and copy and get another element, I can paste that hex code here and it will pick up that color. However, when you're working on a website, it can be quite tedious to always work with these hex codes. and there is a chance that you will change the code so the colors wouldn't match, and yeah, it can be very chaotic. And for that we use styles. So we can create one style, for instance, for color. If we go to this 4 dots here and select this plus icon. And now, like I mentioned earlier, don't worry about variables. Those are the new things that are still in progress, but the style is what is interesting to us. So here we can name this color. So we can name it red, and we can also add a description. Okay, how do we use this color? Let's say this is a primary color, and we can create style. And you can see now when I select this frame that the style is located here. So all of our styles will be located here. And now if I create another element and I wanted to have this color, I can just click on this 4 dots here, and from the library select this red color. So those are styles. And now if we can quickly create I can quickly create styles for each of those colors that I have here. 2, 3.
While Mattia is doing this, later in your IT course, when you'll be doing more about the web development, you will also learn the concept of styles, but in that case, it's going to be called CSS, like cascading style sheets. It's similar to this. Basically, it allows you to create a style, which can be a collection of colors or other properties, and then reuse it all over the place. So if you want to change the primary color a little bit, you don't have to change it in every place where that color is used, but you just change it in this one place, in this style, and that change will be applicable to any location where you might have used that style before. So that's basically the most important, I would say, the power of styles, and it allows you to be more consistent. And we mentioned that as one of the UX attributes or important things in the UX. And I think that Mattia has just finished with the color styles.
So now if I don't have anything selected, you can see these local styles here. They now have all of those colors that we created. What we can do here, we can also select with holding the control. We can select multiple colors and right click, and we can add them to a folder. Let's say these are the gray colors, and these are.
That's basically just for organizing them better for ourselves, right? That's the idea. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What you can also do when naming a style, let's say, so here you can detach this style from this element. So we have this hex code only. And let's say if we want this color to be in some new folder, when creating a style, you can also name it. First, it goes the top layer, the top folder, let's say, I don't know, secondary, if this is a secondary color, and then use the slash character and add a new name. And then when you create that style, it will show like this secondary blue, but it will also be in a folder like this. So now we have colors. We can do the same thing for these headings here. So let's copy this name here, and you can go to 4 dots here. Currently, we don't have any styles created, so we need to go to plus icon and then write the name of that style and create the style. And now it looks like this. We can do the same for heading 2. You can see now that already heading 1 is here, but this one is heading 2. Oh, no, sorry, plus icon, heading 2. This one is heading 3.
So yeah, we are not limited when creating styles just to colors. We can create text styles as well, which can then be reused, as Mattia will show you later on. So basically, those are the two main. They're not the only ones, right? There are some other options as well, but primarily is the colors and the typography, it's the text.
Yeah. So with these styles, only the colors and typography can be changed with these variables. But yeah, I don't want to get into that because it's very, very complicated. But for you, these styles, I mean, until now, we still use styles constantly, and they're quite good. So now if I want to select to have some text, it remembers. So let's say 40 semi-bold. And now I write something. It wouldn't be good to just randomly select size and weight of the font when designing a website. It's better to use the styles that we already prepared. So to apply a style to a typography similar to colors, we go to 4 dots here and then select the style that we want to use. So yeah, we have the styles now. And yeah, let's say we have these icons and we want to add these black colors to icons. What we can do is we can select all of them because they are all the same colors. And you can see the selection colors here. In the selection colors are all the colors that are appearing in the selection. So if I select all of this, you can see here that we have this gray, blues, all of the colors that we created. So if we select these colors, by the way, you can click Control on your keyboard or Command on the Mac and select multiple.
Нет, что не захватила? Ну захвати, пожалуйста.
Someone is not muted.
Someone is not muted. Sorry, if you can mute yourself.
Ну, еще сладенького, очень сильно.
Mattia, you're the host. I
Mom,
think you can mute everyone. Yeah.
Let me. Okay, I muted it.
Okay.
Sorry. So now, yeah, you can see this color here, 4 dots, and change to black. So those are styles. Let's go to components. Components are all the reusable elements that we create. Sorry. Let me just transfer that here. Okay. So the components are all the reusable elements that we have on a website. So for instance, oh, sorry. So for instance, if we go, this is our website of our company, you can see that on all, we have these cards repeating. So this card here is a reusable element. So instead of drawing and copying this element on each section, we can create it as a component and everyone has access to it and they can just pull it and use it as is. So let's create this. So first of all, let's start with a simple component, button component that is always necessary. So to create a button component, we can select this text frame here, write button, and we need to place this text inside of a frame to create a button. To do that, you can select the text box and just hit Shift A, which will automatically also create an auto layout frame. So here I can change the field to red, which is our primary primary color. And this name of the frame, you can change the name by double clicking here, but you can also change it by double clicking here at the top. And let's change it to button. And I mentioned that this is a auto layout frame, which means when you write something, it will automatically resize. And now if I create this as a button, oh, sorry, I didn't say. So you can create this as a component at the top, this diamond icon, I don't know how to call it, but you can create a component with that. And it automatically has this icon here and it's purple. And that means that this is a component. And now if I copy that, you will see that there is no title of the frame at the top. And in the layers panel, you can see that this is an empty diamond. That means that this is an instance of the main component. What that means is if I change the color of the main component, it will automatically change to all of those instances. So if I use button in several pages, and for some reason I decide I want to change the color of the button, I can just go to main component. You can also click on instance and click this on the right hand side, this icon here. It will automatically transfer me to the main component, and I can change the colors to blue. And all of those components will be changed. That the components are also, we talked about consistency. Components are also here to keep the consistency, because if we don't have the components, so if I, for instance, detach this button here, and detach means that if I want to remove I don't want this button to be under this button. So I don't want to have any connection with this main button. What I can do that by clicking these three dots at the top right and clicking detach instance. And now this button is not this component here. And if I change the color here, only those two will change, not this one, because this is not an instance anymore. So now we have a button. However, as you know, if I go to this page here, buttons have different states. So when you hover over the button with the mouse, it changes to different colors. We can also create that in Figma, and we have to create that for developers to know. But we cannot just copy and paste here and change the colors to dark blue, because this is an instance. We need a new component that is a hover state of this button. So what we can do, we can copy this button, and we can create it, we can detach it from this button here. Now we have a simple frame, and we can create a new component, which would be button / hover. And for that, we can use, let's say, this blue color. And for text, we can use white color. And now we can rename this button / default. Now we have two components. We have a button for default state and button for hover state. And you can see I mentioned assets panel here. So if we go to design, and let's say we are preparing a website, we have this website, and we want to place a button. we can go to assets and we have the button here. And because we use the slash in the naming, like I mentioned on styles, it automatically creates this folder here. And now I can just drag and drop it in the design. And if I want to change this default button to a hover button, I can do that from here and change it to hover. However, currently we have two components, but we can create this button states in one component with what's called variants. You can see if I select both the buttons, you can see at the top right it appears this combine as variants button. If I click that, it will create a frame around them. And here we have properties. So to change the name of this property, just double click and let's call that state. And now under state, if we go edit property, we have values default and hover. So if I select one, we have default and hover. We can also add another one. So if I click plus, it will create another button and we can name it, automatically selects everything. We can name that, let's say, pressed. So this is a state when we click on a button. And now we have three different states. And what this variant thing does, you can see that here we have this diamond with the title. If we go to assets panel, you can see that we only have one component now, button. But if we select this button, you can see that we have options for that button to change to hover, to change to pressed. We can also create, if we go back to components, we can also, you can resize this manually, and you can click this plus button, but you can also hold Alt and copy it. We can also, so here it says state 4, automatically it creates different states. If we name this default, you can see that we have some error information here, that we have two of the components with the same property. But if we want to, let's say we need a primary button and secondary button, we can create this as a secondary button and we can add a new property here. So we have state, and now, oh, this is, sorry, we need to select this whole frame. We can add property here, create new property, and select variant. And now we can, let's say, type primary. So now all of the buttons are primary, but this one needs to be secondary. We select that one and click here and change it to secondary. And now if we copy the instance, we have secondary, let's change the color to white with black or blue stroke. And now we have state and type, and we can change that to secondary. But also we need different states for this secondary button. So let's say this is white and text inside it is white. And this would be hover. And we also need pressed. So this one will be pressed and the color will be, I don't know, blue. And now we have all the states for each type of the button. And we have our first component, which we can use in our design. Does anyone have any questions about the components and these variants here?
Yeah, feel free to ask. As we said earlier, most of these concepts are maybe new to you. Also, it seems that there's a lot of work that needs to be done before you actually start designing a website in terms of creating all those different buttons and elements that you can reuse later on. But if you have any questions, just drop it in the chat or ask Mattia or myself.
Yeah.
Okay, you can continue, Mattia, and if
Yeah.
everyone will have a question, I'll let you know.
So, usually when we start making a website, it's difficult to start like with components that we need. Okay, we know that we will need a button, but it's easier to find out which components we need while we are designing. So let's start to create a one page. So let's say we are working on our personal website to showcase some of our work, or if we have a blog with different articles, it's like a portfolio website. So from the frames panel, I selected this desktop, which is the common. You can see at the right the pixel number. This is a common size, so I think this will work just fine. For easier placement of elements on this frame, let's add some grid so it's easier to place the elements. We will select this column and let's have a count of 12. And
Mattia, there was a question.
Mm-hmm.
What do you click after you write the word? Dima asked. Dima, what do you exactly mean after you write the word?
You mean when I was creating a button?
Let's see if Dima will write it. So what do you click after you write the word?
If you're talking about when I was creating this button.
What button to keyboard? Oh, so how do you stop entering the text, I guess, or what?
When I enter text, I can just select anywhere outside the box. I cannot press enter because it will go to a
new line.
new row.
So you just click anywhere?
Yeah, outside of the... Does that answer your question?
Dima, is that the answer?
Oh, okay. So you are talking about this button. So yeah, I've written a button and Shift A to create
letter
an
A.
auto layout frame.
Okay. Дякую тобі. You can continue, Mattia.
Okay, so yeah, I started to, let's put it in the center and give it 75 and gutter 24. So now we have this frame with a grid that we can follow. So what does most of the website have? It has this header with navigation and at the top, at the bottom, a footer. So obviously we can also have this header at the top. To create a header, we can select a frame and just draw it at the top. And it will be empty, so with no fill. And what I like to do is create some with some crazy color just so it stands out a bit more. So in the header, we will have some, let's say, logo. So sorry, my bad. So I took the text frame here, and here I will write logo. And yeah, I can change the size. And let that be the logo of the website. What you can do is click Control E or Command E, and it will become the vector line. So it will not be text anymore. It will be as a vector that we mentioned earlier. So this is how you would get a logo for a website.
What if I want to add an image? For example, I have a logo in some PNG or something like that I would already like to use as a logo instead of text.
So yeah, with images, good point. So let's, can I get, this is not, let me see if I have, okay, this, if I copy the image and just Control V or Command V in the Figma, it will automatically paste. And yeah, I can, this is an image. So what an image is, you can see here, it shows an icon of an image, but you can also place an image inside of a frame. So for instance, if I have this frame here, you can see here that with fill, we can have gradient, but we can also have an image that I showed you that you can select from your computer. However, you can also, with this plus icon, you can add different colors if you want to have some opacity, or so you can add multiple colors to one fill. With that, if I select this, I can select an image as well. And however, the same thing goes for this image element here. You can see that I can add colors to that image, but I can also copy a color. So for instance, if I have these two frames and this one is red, this one is some black, and I want this frame to have this color, but I don't want to copy and paste the hex number. What I can do is I can move my mouse right next to the edge of this sidebar, next to the color, and click, and it will highlight the color like this. And then I can go Control C or Command C. I can select another frame and just Command V, and it will automatically paste it here. And I can then delete this. The same goes for images. I can click right outside this image here. It will highlight it like this. I can Control C. I can select this frame, for instance, and Control V. And it will paste the image inside of this frame. And now here, if I select an image, you can select different options. So for it to fit a frame, so whatever size it is fitting in the side of the frame. It can be cropped, so I can crop it like this, or it can be even a tile. So yeah, let's use this Zoom logo for now instead of this one. I place that here. And now we will have some different pages. For instance, let's prepare those here. So I choose frame, desktop. This will be our home page. This will be our, I don't know, blog. This will be our work page and about page, let's say. All of those pages should be in the main navigation. So let's take the text box tool and write about. This is a bit too large. Let's create a smaller size. So Alt and copy. This will be blog, and this will be work. Now we already have something. However, this is not responsive at all. If I move around, and yeah, it wouldn't work in multiple frames and for multiple designers. So we can create this this component with auto layout. So first of all, what we need to do is, if I select this main frame of the header, let's move it outside and call this header. If I select it and if I click auto layout, it will automatically distribute the contents inside it evenly. And now, one thing that I didn't mention earlier, you see that this is aligned at the left, and if I resize it, they all stay to the left because they have fixed a spacing between them. What I can do, I can also write here auto, which means that the spacing will be different depending on the size of the parent frame. So if I change the width of the parent frame, the contents inside it will be evenly distributed. However, this also doesn't work for us because, yeah, we want to have these items here grouped. So what do we do? We select those items here, and we can click Shift A to create another auto layout within the auto layout. And this would be our buttons, let's say, navigation buttons. And now inside that frame, we can change the spacing to, let's say, 40, let's say 64. However, you can see that they are aligned to the left. We need to align them to the right. And what we can do, we can go here and give it hug contents, so they're already hugged. And now this is already looking like something. Now we have a responsive navigation. And we can change the color to something normal, let's say blue color. And we can place that on our website. However, we will use, I will just make this a little bit smaller, and we can change the padding of this component here. However, like I mentioned, we want to use this this element or this component on each of our pages. But if I want to change the color, for some reason, I will have to click on all of them on each page, and sometimes there are like 10, 20, hundreds of pages. I will need to click on all of them and change the color. To make our life easier, what we can do, we can create this as a component using this button here. And what I like to do is have all of the components in the same place. So you can just cut with Control X or Command X and paste it next to components. Now we have a button component and we have a header component. And now if I go to design, I can go to my assets panel, or you can copy from here, but you can also drag it from asset panel and place it inside of the frame. Now if I click copy, I can paste it to each of our pages.
So now, because that is a component, if I want to change color, for example, I change it in
Yeah.
just one place and it will be applied everywhere.
Exactly. And if we need to change these buttons here to a black, they will apply on all of our pages. Okay, let's continue with our website. So we have a header with the main item that we want to show, but this is a homepage. The homepage is like an introduction page. For instance, here on our website, we have some message that what we want first for users to see when they arrive to our website. So in our instance, we can use a text box and say, hi, my name is Mattia and I'm, some message. But you can see that we can change the size of the text here, but if you remember, we already created styles for the text. We have this typography style here. We have different headings, sizes, and for body, the body is like the main text, like this one here. So we can just select this frame here with the text, 4 dots, and use this heading one. And then we can fit it however we like inside of our grid, basically. And maybe if I use this shape tool, let's say ellipse, maybe I can create something like this. And place an image here. So I'll just open an Unsplash. Unsplash is a website where you can find royalty-free images. And yeah, I can just, as an example, let's say that this is me. I can copy image. And I can directly, if I select this shape or frame, I can just place, I can just click Control V or Command V, and it will automatically place inside the frame. And now we have this hero, but again, it's not really responsive. And you can see that header is not responsive also. Why? Because on the overall frame, so parent frame homepage, we do not have auto layout. But what we can do here for header, we can use the constraints that I talked about earlier. So at the moment, it only says horizontally to look at the left side of the frame. But if I place left and right, it will scale if I move left or right. So now it's responsive. Here, I can also create this whole section as an auto layout. And give it some padding. Oh, better, it's easier to resize it. Put it in the middle. And now we have this grid here. I can just, what I often do, if I want to see what is the size of this margin here, I just use the shape tool. And yeah, it's 138. And I can just write here 138, and it will automatically fit inside the frame. But we can also change the top and bottom, and we can add a fill to this whole element, let's say grayish, or no, better blue. But this is a bit tricky now, because you can see that it's not really aligned with the grid, which I don't like. Let me change this to white. And for these cases, yeah, I often don't use auto layout, but what I have to do right now is I need to change the spacing between these two elements. And I can use this, but it's also kind of, I need to be sure that it aligns with the grid, which is not very good. And it wouldn't be responsive, but what I can do is I can just write auto, and it will automatically fit inside of the padding that we decided. And now if I resize this, it doesn't work. And why it doesn't work is because we also need to think about the elements inside of this auto layout frame. I'm talking about this text. So you can see here, when I resize this, that the name, that the text is going up and down. But when I resize this, it doesn't. What I have to do is I have to switch from fixed width for this text box to fill container. And yeah, it's not great because now we lose this auto. But if we resize, you can see that the text changes. However, what we can do here, there is this max width and minimum width. So I can select this text frame here. I can say fixed width and add maximum width. So if I select 400, you can see that now this is 400. But I need it to here, so I need this. Let me just quickly remove this. I want it like this, for instance. And I can place max width, this one here. No, it doesn't work. Okay. This doesn't work, so I need to see for an easier solution. Instead of trying to figure out this for this text box, it would be easier to have both elements as fill elements. So if I fill this and remove the max, you can see that it will fill, and this circle here is fixed. And now if I remove, it works, but I want to have the same, so the half of the screen to fill with text and half of the screen to reserve for this image. But I don't want to have a big image like this. What I can do is I can place this image in a separate frame. So you can right click here and you can select this frame selection. And now if I turn off it, this image is inside of this frame. And now I can say to this image to be in the center horizontally. And on this frame, which is an image frame, I can say to fill container. And now, yeah, I don't want this white background. So I will remove white background. And now we have slightly better behavior. So as you can see, while I was describing it to you, I use Figma regularly, daily, but I also sometimes need to try things out. So when you are playing with your website, you will just need to click through the options and see what works. So that's one of the lessons here, that even experienced designers don't know exactly everything. They always need to remember some stuff. Similar to developers, they always Google stuff. They don't know anything, so everything. So you need to remind yourself of some things. Okay, so we have this hero image here. Let's say that we want to display our work below it. We need a card that would be clickable to display our work. So that card would have an image. Let's use this frame. Let's say like this for an image. I will edit as image. Let's give it some fill just so we know. So this would be an image. And here on the right, we would have, this is my project. And maybe we want to add some more context about this project, some intro text. First of all, we cannot have the same heading because this is the main heading. This should be a bit smaller. Let's say heading 3. Or better, heading 2. And below it, let's say this is a project about some things I made, whatever, it doesn't matter. And from this styles panel, we can add it as a body text. Maybe with this card, we also need some tag about what this project is about. Let's say this is a web design. And I can also use this Shift A to create a tag and give it a blue color. Change this text. I don't need it here. I will change it to medium white. I can also create this border here so it looks like a pill. Because it's an auto layout, I can change the padding to, let's say, 24. And now we have a tag which describes in which category this project is placed. And I will probably use this tag in a different card. So let's create a component out of it. So let's first change the name. And yeah, I will copy it here. And we have a tag component. And now I can copy it again and use it here. So this is not a component, this is a component. Now we want to have all of this inside of one card. If I select everything and click Shift A, it will be a mess. It will automatically try to figure out what I wanted. What I like to do is I like to go from the middle outwards. So I know that this and this will be together. This will be below, and this will be on the right. So we need to separate this section from the image. but also connect this section here. So let's first connect these two. We selected Shift A. This would be our title and intro. And you can change the spacing here, but you can also change the spacing here. Let's give it 24. And also this is connected to this. So we can select all of that, click Shift A. And I will click here Auto, because I wanted to change the width, the spacing accordingly to the width of the card. And now if I select this and this, so this is our image, let's name it image. And I mean, we can use this same image, just so we have it here. So this is an image. We select this two, Shift A. And now we have this huge card. Let's give it a feel just so we see what we are doing. So of course we need some padding around the card so it looks better. So let's give it a padding of 24 pixels on the left and right, and top and bottom. And yeah, the spacing is a bit too much. Let's give it 24 spacing. And yeah, we wanted to have it like, let's say, like this. So this is our card. However, you can see that it's not really responsive. So what we need to do is select this frame here, which is our title with tag. And we need to have it as fill container. Will it work now? No. Why? Because we also need to go deeper and select this auto layout frame with fill container. So as the container resizes, the elements inside resizes also. But also we need to select this text frame and click fill container. And now they will break according to the size. However, we can also click on the image and say fill container. Now it will be 50-50 on the card, and the image also changes. Let's give it this card a white color, and let's give it a black border. And yeah, we can create, let's copy that and create a project card component. And paste it here, and we don't need this anymore. So yeah, we now have.
So what you did, you created a card, you turned it into a component, and then used that component to delete the initial card, right? So you will always be able to use the instances of the component.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
And now we will probably have more projects, let's say 3. And because, yeah, we can do this manually and see what is the spacing between them, but we can also select all and create an auto layout frame, and this will be our project list. I just renamed it here, and now I can have like 40 pixels between them. And now if I resize this parent frame, nothing happens. Why? Because I need to go inside of the frame. You can also select parent frame and click enter, and it will automatically select all the childs, and we can click on fill container, and now if I select this list, everything will be responsive. Let's give this a bit of padding. and place it right below our hero section. Of course, we don't want this to be that wide, so let's give this padding here, like this. Or so now we have some project cards. You can also, if you get annoyed by this grid, if you want to see clearly, you can hide it here with this eye, and you can see how it looks. And we can select this fill and give it a bit of grayish color. No. So now we have projects. Also, it will be good to have some kind of the title here to say, okay, these are our projects. So we can select and projects. And let's give it a heading 2. And now if this project is inside of this auto layout. And what we need to do to put it in the middle, we just select it here. But what if I want to have a more spacing between projects and the first card? If I increase this, then all of the spacing between the cards will increase as well. What I need to do is I need to separate the heading and from the cards. So I need to select this card and create another auto layout. It should be cards. And then I can give it, I don't know, 8. But if I go even smaller, you can see that projects is not responsive. What I need to do is select this text frame and go fill container. Now it's again to the left. Why? Because on the text frame, we selected this option here, text align. We need it to in the center. So now it's if the title is longer, it will go in new row. So yeah, we have our projects, and yeah, we can add. I see that we are getting close to the time. I will speed things up, but I want to show you the prototype. So let's remove this. This will be our about, some title. We can add text. If you click on text and draw it here, it will automatically be inside of the auto layout. We can change something here, fill container. Let's say body text. We can write some things about us. Doesn't matter at this point. Oh. And yeah, basically we have different sections. And also at the bottom, let's use this header and let's detach it. Let's remove the logo. We can keep this here, but if we want to add some icons, for instance, let's go to feather icons and let's say Facebook, Instagram, and I don't know what other social networks are you using. Is there a TikTok? No. But
LinkedIn,
yeah,
maybe something. Yeah. Facebook and Instagram is enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all right.
and if I select this icon here and drag it inside of this, you can see this blue line here. It will automatically place the icons inside of that auto layout. And I don't need the blog and work, and I don't need the about. and let's change the color to some dark one. Oh, we don't need this black one. Of course, now we can't see the icons. But if I go here and I select these icons here, I can change this section color to white. And I can maybe increase. Now we have a footer. And you can see that we have this, all of this section divided. We can select the parent section, and we can also create this as an auto layout, just clicking on auto layout. And now if I resize it, it doesn't work. Why? Because we need to go to child elements by clicking enter. So it selects all the frames inside of this homepage frame, and we can click on fill container. And now if we have this, yeah, it's almost responsive. But yeah, I want to show you, because it's already 3:21. I want to show you quickly prototyping, because it's quite, it's a really important and useful tool. Let's now I realize, okay, if I want to go to an about me, I would need some button here. So I can just drag and place it here, but it doesn't really, I want it below this main title. So what I need to do is I need to select a button and this frame here. And I can shift A, change the direction to vertically. And if I select this button and click on arrow keys, I can change the order of the frame. And let's give it a bit of, and more about me. And yeah, we have this about here. And let's say that here we have, I don't know, some text, a lot of text about us. Let's use Lorem ipsum. So Lorem ipsum is just a dummy text that often designers use just as a placeholder for designs to show, okay, this is where the text goes. I'll just go quickly now so I can show you the prototypes. But basically what I would do with these other pages is basically the same thing that I did here. So I would divide the page in sections and make sure that everything is responsive. I can also, if I click here on the title and click copy and paste it here, it will paste in exact place as it is in this frame here. So this would be blog, and this would be work. And now I want to connect these pages here. What I need to do, I need to go to prototype mode here on the top right. And yeah, now we are in prototype mode. And I want this button, when I click on it, to transfer me to this about page. So I go to the button and I click this plus, this plus appears icon. If I click on it and drag it, I can drag it to this frame here and it automatically snaps. And now it says navigate to about. And now if I can click here, it will open up a prototype frame inside of over our design. But I can also go here and click on this play button. It will open up in a prototype view, which is how website look. Now we have our homepage here, and you can see here that this share prototype and this header here opens up when I hover over. To remove that, you can go to options and show Figma UI. You can see this is a shortcut here, and now it will be hidden. And now if I click on more about me, it transfers me to that page here. But now I need to go back to the home page, and usually to go back to the home page, people make this logo as a link to a home page. So I can select a logo and then drag this line here, and it will navigate to home page. And now if I click on the zoom, it will go to a home page. I need to do that for each. What I can do is I can select one and hold shift, and it will select another one. And then if I click on this plus, it will create two lines, and both of them can lead to the home page. And also, let's say this about, go to about page, this blog goes to blog, and work goes to work. But now I also need to do that here. There is a way to automatically have all the connections with the same component, but for that the component needs to be in the same page, which is not, if you have a lot of frames and pages, screens, the canvas gets cluttered, and I still recommend having the components separated from the actual designs. But what you can do is you can use this one header here and select this log here. Okay, this goes to homepage. Put it inside of the frame. And now you can copy it, Control C or Command C. And if you select all of those headers and click Shift Command R or Control or Shift Control R, so letter R, it will replace that element with this one. And now we have all of these connections. Or if you want to go slowly, you can delete this one, this one, this one, copy this one and paste it here, and then paste it here and paste it here.
But yeah,
And
let's say, for example, we made a mistake. For example, I dragged it to some other, I dragged it to the option that I don't need it. How can I easily delete the connections? So for example, if I made it wrong.
So let's say this, you connected more about me to a blog. What you can do is you can select this button and you can change the destination. So this about blog, those are our pages. You can change the destination like that, or you can remove it altogether by clicking this minus button, or you can select the line itself, the connection, and click delete.
Okay, so I can just select the line and hit delete, and it will delete
Yeah.
it. It's the same as the clicking. Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
Thanks.
And now if we go to our prototype and refresh, now we have about, we go home, we can go to blog, we're on blog, we go home, to work, if you want to go home, we go home. Also, what we can do with prototypes is change how certain elements behave on the page. So for instance, now I drag this page and everything goes how I drag it. But what if I want to have the header at the top always fixed? So like we have here. So if I go down the page, I always have the header at the top. To do that, I need to go back to the design, click on the header. Just a second. Oh, no, sorry. You still stay in prototype, click on the header, and you can see here scroll behavior, position, scroll with parent, but you can also have it sticky at the top edge. And now if I go back and refresh it, now if I scroll, the element will stay sticky. But you can see that the hero section goes over the header. That's why in auto layout, this is also important to know. So we have these frames inside of this whole auto layout. We can change the stacking so that the last element is on top. This is currently selected. So if I change the spacing between those elements, so you can see here how I change spacing, I can also go into minus so they are over each other. And if I do that, you can see that, for instance, projects is over this section here, hero. And if I want the header to be the first one, what I need to do is I need to select this first on top. That means that the first element here in the layers panel will be on top. And now I can change this to 0. And now if I go to design, the header will be sticky at the top and everything will go behind it. I also see that I use the same color here, which is not good. And if I want to change a bit the header, I go to the main component by clicking here, and I can change this header to a, I don't know, not blue one, let's say white one, and I want to add a stroke at the bottom, maybe a little bit thicker. And now if I click it, if I return the instance, you can see that I'm returned and everything is updated. And then if I go here, you can see that it's updated in prototype as well. Also, what you can do with prototypes, remember that we created states for this button. If I go to a component, I can go to prototype mode. And if the components are in this variants group, I can select the button and also drag it here to a hover state, and it will automatically say change to. And yeah, these are the properties that we had on the right-hand side. And from hover, let's say change to pressed. And you can see here that it says if I select the transition, you can see here on click. That means when I click on it, it will change the state. However, this is on hover, so I can change while hovering. The same things go here. It says on click, but I don't want it on click. I want it when I'm pressing down the mouse pad. So while pressing.
So those are the triggers, right? They tell us
Yeah.
what will happen when user interacts with clicking
Yeah.
or positioning mouse above.
Yeah, and now if I hover over this button, it will
Nice.
automatically change the state. And if I click on it, it will give me a pressed state. But if I let go, because we have the earlier interaction to go to the about page, it will send me to an about page. You can also have different transitions with the prototype. So you have this where it says instant. That means that when I click on it, it just shows the different frame. But I can also have it like dissolve. And if I, let's say, give 500, what that means, it will ease into a new frame. So if I click, it will be like this. So it's a slight difference. We can also change to move in. You have this animation at the bottom too, which explains what it means. If I click here, it will move in from the right. This is very useful when you are designing a mobile app where you have like back buttons. If you use like Instagram stuff, something, if you go to one profile and if you click a back button, it will slide to the right to go back where you came from. So there is a lot of interactions here which you can play with. You also have this smart animate. And what smart animate means, if you, let's say, if we place a frame here and give it a red color, and by changing the, by clicking on it, we want it on about page to go to the bottom. What we can do, so I don't know if I was clear. So I want to click on this square, and I want it to have an animation for it to go like this. So what I can do, I can copy this entire page by holding Alt or Option, and I can move this square here. And now if I go to prototype, and if I select this element here, I want it to transition to this. And instead of moving, I will select Smart Animate. And with that, Figma will automatically figure out what I wanted to do. And by clicking on this square, it will create the animation of it. And I can also play around with easing, like let's say bouncy. You can also have like animation to show you how it works. So now, but I can't go back, I need to refresh it, but I can just create a new connection here. Smart Animate, it remembers the settings. And now if I click, so this
And
smart
if you change the color, for example, it will also interpolate the colors.
You can also change the colors, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
It will also figure that out. So let's say if we want some blue color. So now the animation is quite fast, but yeah. Let's slow it down.
Yeah, you can see how it changes from blue to red. Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you can play around with all of those options, and you can do a lot of good things. For instance, yeah, you can also add, because this is a component, you can also create this, copy it and create a new variant of it like we did for buttons, and you can create a new interaction like we did for buttons. So when you hover over this entire card, it changes the state. So yeah, that's prototyping. In like, this is very, very simple, just for you to see how to exactly with this connection. Those connections are the most important thing when prototyping. You know which, okay, I want this button to go here. You just click on it and you have this plus icon, and you drag it to the frame where you want it to go. You can also, there is different, like we had on while hovering, while pressing for button. If I go here, and for this button, if I don't say on click, but on drag, that means that when I'm dragging this element, it will change to this. So let's go to about. Now if I drag, it will change to this. This is still on click, but this is on drag.
Very cool.
And yeah, there is a lot of, I mean, I can talk, as you can see, it's already 20 to 4. I can talk about Figma like for months, but and I hope that I gave you some insights of like basic things in Figma, that when you are watching tutorials, you already know where you are in the program. And I really want to encourage you to research a bit more about Figma, because Figma has its own YouTube channel with a lot of tutorials. So this is official YouTube channel. What? Okay, let's go. Say Figma. So if you go to Figma YouTube channel, there is also this a lot of different how do you call them?
Clips, tutorials, like,
Yeah, no, groups of videos.
ah, like series, like series.
Yeah. So you have to get started with Figma. So these are all like short tutorials about how to use Figma. Figma also has this conference, but you probably won't watch that. But there is a lot of information about Figma and how to use Figma. There is also, if you go back to files, and if you go to the top right where your name is, and you go to community profile, community, and you can see search resources like portfolio, this input field at the top. Community in Figma is basically a people that uses Figma publish their files, their templates, their designs, their component libraries, and everything. And for instance, if I want to, let's say we were working on portfolio website. If I search portfolio, there is a lot of different files that some other people created and shared with others. And this can be very good as an inspiration, but also if you open up a file, let's say, I don't know, this one here, you can open it in Figma. You can see how other people organize their files, basically, and how they create websites and pages and how they use auto layout. For instance, here you can see that this person did not use auto layout at all. So yeah, check out this community thing in Figma. Search for, I don't know, components. You can see that a lot of big companies also share their design systems, but design system is another topic. But yeah, check. There is a lot of information online, and Figma, maybe it does look, while I was explaining it, a bit too much, but it's really, really simple once you get to know all the elements. It's all the tools, and once you are familiar with all the tools, I mean, you saw me while I was making mistakes. Oh, this doesn't work. I need to change that. I already knew what I wanted to do. So, and I know that there is an option if I want to make something. So once you get familiar with it, once you worked in it for a while, you will get a feel for everything. And yeah, check out the Figma. You can see Figma auto layout. Basically, there's other people that talk about auto layout. You will see that. Check out this when it was published. For instance, this was 2 years ago, and Figma has constant updates. So some things may look different, but the concepts and how it works is the same. So just a little heads up. And yeah, I don't know. Is there any question? This is this went a bit longer than I thought so when I was preparing, but I hope that it wasn't too boring and you saw some things that you can do with this program, which is really great.
Okay, if you have any questions, just drop them in chat. Arseny says it was useful.
Thanks.
Дякую, Arseny. Hvala. What we said earlier, Matija, you can give me the hosting now, please. You can make me a host from the. Just go to the list of participants, right click, and then make me a host.
Okay. More make host.
Okay, 1 second.
Now you have the power.
I have the power. Matija, the floor was yours. It's not anymore. So thank you for that. So as Matija told you, so Figma is a tool and obviously enables you to do a lot of things. It also takes some, getting to know how to use it. Tutorials that he mentioned are very useful. Also, as Mikita said at the start of this presentation, this is all recorded, so you'll have the access to this. You'll always be able to go back and forward and see how certain things have been done. What I want to share with you again, just like I did in previous days, are the email addresses. Matija's email is pretty much the same as mine, so it's matija@pointjupiter.com. Mine is vibor@pointjupiter.com. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate. Just drop us a message. You can drop it to me on Telegram, and I will forward it to Matija since we are working together. And our intention here is for you to give you time until, let's say, Thursday or Friday morning, something like that, to try and create some designs in Figma on your own. You can use community, as Matija showed you, so you can find some inspiration on how to create a simple website there. And then to all of you who create your websites and share your links in Figma with us, we will go through them and we can provide you with some feedback and tell you like, okay, this is great and this might need some improvement. So Matija and I can take a look at that. Matija, did you want to say something to add something?
Yeah, I just want to mention the thing about sharing. When you are in your file at the top right, you will have a blue button that says share, and you can copy a link and then paste it to an email or Telegram. So
yep. Yeah, that's basically the
And
simplest
yeah.
way for you to share the prototypes with us, and then we can go through them and get into
And
it.
yeah, I told Weber that to include my email too. If some of you will be working in Figma and you find yourself confused or don't know what to do, don't hesitate, just shoot me an email. I respond fairly quickly, and yeah, I can go and help you with everything you are making. So yeah, but I'm fairly certain that you will. If you watch some other tutorials, and yeah, it, like I mentioned, it's not too hard.
It takes some getting used to.
Yeah.
As we said earlier, please, we encourage you to do a lot of exploring and researching and learning on your own. This is just a very short week, and you went through a lot of different topics, and a lot of interesting topics await you. But keep in mind that for building a good and successful career in the IT, whether you're a designer or a developer, you always need to be ready to learn and basically get accustomed to new things. Tools do change. You had Photoshop, now we have Figma. In 10 years' time, who knows what you're going to have. So keep that in mind. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. You saw Mattia, he's been working on this for years. I've been working on this for years. We keep making mistakes constantly. Don't beat yourself about it and feel bad about it. That's a good learning experience. With all that being said, Ďakujem vám za čas, and do let us know, as I said, if you have any questions, and hopefully we meet again soon. Thank you and take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.